Coleen. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Larissa. Thank you, everybody. I'm so happy and honored to be here. Really, like you said, gratifying for me to be able to give back, and especially to give back in a way with food, because if you cook, and probably you do, this is why you're with us today, it's how we show love. So we're going to make a Cavatelli soup. It's a really hearty, wintry soup with some chickpeas, which are garbanzo beans. And we're also going to make a bruschetta. And not just an easy thing that probably you've made before, but there's a couple little tricks of the trade. And like Larissa said, I now own, for the last 5 years, Tuscan Women Cook. And we take people in the before times. So next year we'll be back online. But we're sold out for next year already, which is great. And we'll have to add some weeks. So we take people 6 weeks in the spring and 6 weeks in the fall. It's a 1-week immersion trip. We cook in the morning with our nonna. So I'm obviously not Italian. And I'm not a nonna yet. I wish I was, which means grandma. But we cook with our nonnas in the morning. And then we eat what we've prepared for lunch. And then wines paired with wines of the region. And then we tour the countryside, and we have beautiful olive oil tastings, cheese tastings, wine tastings. We go to ceramic shops and big pottery shops as well. So it's just a wonderful trip, and I'm getting a little emotional because I really miss being there, because we were not able to go this spring nor this fall. So our friends there are just eagerly waiting for us to come back. We stayed in this beautiful inn. It's called Tuscany, which means the elm tree, and it's built around the property. It's just gorgeous. So our friends in the village there just can't wait for us all to come back. So we're just really excited to do that. So this soup actually is one of our nonnas. She did it. Ada, who we adore, she cooks a lot of things with us, and her family, we have 3 generations of the Bernardini family that we cook with, and we make a pasta al forno, which means pasta in the oven, and that is basically what we call lasagna. So this is Ada's chickpea recipe, her zuppa, if you will, for these winters, nice and hearty. So we can get started. I did want to mention about being a survivor. Now it's been 15 years, which is just incredible. But we all need to remember, what I try to get out there is, I am not the person that we need to spend time with. I had good health care. I was very early detection. I was so early because my gynecologist knew I have dense breasts. I would never be, a mammogram would not show anything on me until it was too large. So I had ultrasounds when I started when I was about 35. So he was great. He was my OB and also my kids' doctor, the OB. So he delivered my children. And so I started getting ultrasounds at 30-something, 32, 33. And I didn't get diagnosed until I was about 43 or 44, I think, whenever that was, 43. So anyway, I'm grateful for that. But I had good health care, and so what we need to do is get out and outreach to people that really need better health care, and to get away from the stigma of our bodies, and especially female and the breast, and we need more dialogue. So as much as often as you can, let's just get the word out that there's nothing to be ashamed of, and we need to touch our bodies. We need to take care of all of us together. So that's something I really want. If you're watching this, you're likely in or have been in treatment, or certainly we all know of somebody at any given time that's in treatment. So we can all just join together. And again, I use food as love. And as a matter of fact, a friend of mine, this COVID thing is so crazy. So forget about how mad I am about not being able to go to Italy right now, but it's just getting closer and closer. It seems like more and more people are having it. And one of my really good girlfriends, I hadn't seen her coincidentally for almost 3 or 4 weeks. She has it. So this soup is going to be going to her today, and she has it, it's not very, she doesn't have a lot of symptoms or anything, so, but she's quarantined all by herself, and it is beginning of Hanukkah today, so her family had to leave her. So hopefully this soup and the bruschetta will bring her some love, and she already had chicken soup because somebody else brought her that, but we're going to bring her our Italian version. So here we go. First, what we're going to do is get our, I don't know if you can see this, because I've got a pan here. I'm boiling some water for the pasta. And I want to talk to you about this a little bit. This soup is so easy. You can cook the pasta in the soup. I don't, because I feel that I think I said chickpeas, it's cannellini beans, are very starchy. So it gets really thick if you cook the pasta. The starch of the pasta goes in the soup. However, most people make it like that because it's super, super easy. So we're just gonna get my oven going here on the stove. And again, this soup, you can use almost any kind of pasta. We're calling for the Cavatelli, because the Cavatelli is like a little hot dog bun, and it holds the liquids and the cheese and things like that. So it's a nice one to use, but feel free to use anything. Heating my grill pan, because we're going to also grill the bread. And that one's working. So. Okay, so at home, you're just going to take any, an olive oil, you know, we learn a lot about olive oil, and there's a lot of discussion about that. Always use good olive oil. Costco has some really good extra virgin olive oils at a really good price, especially when it's for this type of cooking. But for your drizzling, then you're going to want to use the best olive oil you can get. And when you come to Italy with us, you'll get some really good olive oil. So we're just going to heat the oil up. That's another thing people talk about. Do you heat the oil first or not? I like to. I don't think it changes the texture of anything personally, but I like to heat it up because maybe it's just kind of a instant gratification because you hear the sizzle. So I always put my onions in first. So we're going to do the Holy Trinity. In Italy, it's called a sofrito. In France, it's called the mirepoix, but it's the onions, carrots, and celery. So that is the base of everything. And while that oil heats up, I didn't get a chance to cut the celery back. So we're just going to cut these, and you always just want them to be about the same size. So there's no magic here. Like anything, when you're cooking, if you like, oh, what size should it be? They should generally be uniform, so that when you eat it, it feels good on your mouth. Okay, so we're just doing this little choppy here, and I reserve this celery, these leaves. They're very, very flavorful, especially when you cut them up. It's a super refreshing thing to add to many, many dishes, not just a Bloody Mary. So keep that in mind. I use it a lot. And another thing you can do too, which you probably do at home, I know you can get these roasted chickens and make your chicken stock, which is super easy and so delicious and really, really nutritious as well. If you don't have time to just, boil your own chicken, but I use this chicken stock a lot, and also veggie stock. My daughter's vegetarian, and I need to have that around a lot because she'll always ask, "Did you use chicken stock?" But no. So this recipe is. I know that Larissa has linked it somewhere. So this Cavatelli soup. So we're going to take one onion chopped, and it's just a medium-sized onion. So there you go. That's why I like that. So these will just get them so they're just glistening. It's not. I put the onions in always first because they take a little bit. They don't want to take longer to cook, but it takes a little longer for the flavor to come out than it does, say, a carrot or celery because they're so fresh. And onions are a little bit different texture too. So we'll just do our little mirepoix here. And I don't know about you guys, but if anybody has a solution for cutting onions and not frying, because I had to pre-cut the onions because I just fall apart. And so I've tried goggles, matches in my mouth, freezing them. So please, if somebody has a really good way not to cry, and which I've already done today, ruin all my makeup. So if you have a suggestion, I would love to hear it.
Someone has said chew gum while chopping. Have you tried that one yet?
No, chewing gum. Oh my gosh. I'll try that. I'm going to try that. Except I forbid myself from chewing gum but I will do it for the sake of the frying. What if I ever chew gum? It's like I end up looking like I'm and it's just not. I don't know where I learned how to chew gum, but not at etiquette school. All right, so now I'm going to add the carrots and the onions. This is going to be easy. And I started to say about the chicken stock. I'm going to turn this down a little. The chicken stock, I also do a lot of veggie stock. So I want to show you something really fast. I keep this little tub near my sink, actually in the sink, and I've seen some people do that on their cooking shows, and they put stuff in there. But I try to be mindful now. This has the onions, and now I'm going to put the celery and the rest of the carrot too. And I just make that into veggie stock. So instead, I'm trying to be mindful about what goes in there now, and then just put the other one in compost. But that way, it turned out really nice. So we're going to do today. We're doing a veggie stock, and it's about. But you could use chicken. I don't think I would use beef. The beef stock or broth might be a little bit too heavy for this dish, and it's also a really pretty color. So that we can do. So we're gonna, these need about 2 to 3 more minutes. And one other funny thing about cooking in Italy, and we're writing a cookbook. So our cookbook's almost finished. We've been working on it for 3 years. Part of the issue has been that our nonas, we're doing the recipes of our village, of the nonas of our village in our cooking school that's been around for 20 years. So Tuscan Women Cook started in the year 2000. This was our 20th anniversary. So we compiled all the recipes from our nonna, but there's just really, when we're there in class, it's fun because you can ask the nonna how much, and they just say, oh, it's an average amount. So when we got all the recipes compiled and we're going through it, it was really funny. So it took us a while to prescribe and transcribe these, and also they're in Italian. So it's been a really fun labor of love, and it's coming out at the end of the year, so which is now. So we're really excited about that. And
sorry to interrupt. Where will we be able to find your cookbook once it's out?
Oh, if you go on our website, TuscanWomenCook.com, there's a tab that says, let me know about the cookbook or something like that. And and actually, if you sign up for that, you'll get all of our newsletters and all of our promotions, all of our vendors, our guests, because we're trying to help the people in the village. They're in a pandemic as well. So our vendors are selling, you could buy beautiful olive oils, ceramics, leather goods in our Mercato Centrale of the Central Market on our website. So you'll see that. But then if you put your name and address or your email, we will send you the announcement when the book comes out. And it's right, I'm going to a meeting today, but it'll be on Amazon, it will be in certain bookstores, and from us as well. So that's Tuscan Women, plural, cook.com. So that has been so fun. And the photos alone are incredible. All right, these look really good. So I'm going to, today we're going to, this is funny because I'm telling you use Cavatelli, we're using Cavatelli today. So the pasta water has been boiling. Okay, this is the thing. You do need to salt your water. But if you're in treatment or you're on medication and you can't, then don't go crazy. But the thing about salting the water is it actually imparts into the pasta. So it is important, and how much they use over there, it'll blow your mind. But it's a lot. So when they say heavily salted water in a dish, they mean it. They're not messing around on that. So the pasta is boiling, and I'm going to pour it in. Again, I like to cook the pasta first, but we would add the stock to this, and you could certainly just add it right then, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm only going to use about half of this for what I'm doing is a little bit, but the recipe's on there and it's good. So we'll just get that pasta going. And in the meantime, we will, I don't know if you have a grill pan, but they do come in quite handy. We're going to grill the bread for the bruschetta because we like to multitask. So the pasta's going to take maybe 5 to 7 minutes. So while we do that, I'm going to get this grill pan hot, and I can show you this here. They come in really handy. I use my grill a lot. I'm in California, so I used to use my grill a lot. So next we're going to, I like this brand of the cannellini beans, but certainly you don't have to. And I have to, my apologies. It is chickpeas. I just have been making so many garbanzo beans. I thought I blew it, but I have to go get them. 1 sec. It is garbanzo beans.
While Coleen is grabbing that, this is just a friendly reminder that the recipe is in your confirmation email that you received for this webinar. And if you would like another copy of the recipe and a copy of her bruschetta, which was her surprise recipe of the day, feel free to email info@cancersupportla.org, and we would be glad to share that with you. We'll put that email in the chat now as well.
And I know what I wanted to say about the garbanzo beans is there's some fancy ones out there, and so for example, these are the cannellini beans. I really do like this brand because they are smaller and they work really well. And the cannellini beans really feature a lot of Italian, especially Tuscan recipes. They have a really good white bean dip that you can make with that, which is great. So on the garbanzo beans or the chickpeas, I do like this S&W low sodium. One, we've salted the water, but also, and I've tried some really fancy ones too. I actually did a garbanzo bean chickpea tasting test. And this S&W, I think they're not even expensive or anything, and they are the best. They're the most fresh and they have the best color. So you're going to take 1 can, your garbanzo beans. You're going to rinse them. And again, with these, I like them a lot because they're just super clean. I don't know if you can see this, but they just are cleaner than some of them that I've seen and have used. But all right, so now back to our soup. I like to caramelize the onions a little bit, and that's why I put them in first. I think that they come out with a little more robust flavor. We're going to add 6 cups of veggie stock. So again, this was one that I had made, and we're just going to add this to that. I wish you could smell this. So that was 4 cups, and then I have another 2 cup thing. I have to, Anne-Marie, who's here with me today, she's gonna laugh. I had a gift card for Sur La Table, and I bought this, a couple of them in the dishwasher. It's like a 10-piece measuring cup. And I thought, this is kind of silly. Why am I buying this? Because I know I can use 1 cup for 2 cups, but I'm finding that I'm really using this a lot. Just, 3/4, 1 1/2, 1, 2, 2 1/2. So it's, I don't know, we're plugging now, but I thought it was a silly thing to have. So let's get this guy going too. I'm just going to get the soup liquid heated up. And because if we put I want the stock, we could, like I said, at this point, you get this to boil and then you'd add your pasta and let it cook. You're going to put the beans in at the end. And if you put the pasta in, just make sure your water's really hot because it needs to be boiling, right? Like you would make a regular pasta. So that pasta's not ready to go in. And then we do fresh pasta, obviously, but I think there are some great dried pastas around. Some of the pastas, the smaller pastas, and the pastas that have holes in them, those are a lot harder to do, and you need a special tool to do that. And we don't do a lot of that, but the long pastas and the sheet pastas, so easy. One of the things that we really try to do in Tuscan Women Cook, and we're going to be doing some events domestically. So if you sign up, you'll hear about that. We're going to be doing some cooking classes locally too. So that is going to be really fun. But with the pasta, the message that we have here at Tuscan Women Cook is really to try to make it not intimidating. I was very intimidated by pasta. I'm still intimidated by bread. Okay, so, and everyone's making bread, so I started making butter. I was making butter and giving it away, which was pretty fascinating and also very easy. So with pasta, just try to take the intimidation factor out of it. Use the machine. I think the KitchenAids have an attachment. I just have the hand crank one that I've had for 25 years and works great. So just try to play around with it. And on our website too, there are some recipes that we feature on each one of our newsletters. So you could go back in our archives and see and try some things. And you can always email me, Coleen, Coleen, at TuscanWomenCook.com, and ask me questions or things like that. So the recipes we have been tested, and they're good. Foolproof. So this is hot. Our pasta is still cooking. Our grill pan, we really want to, be really hot. This is not hot enough yet. And what we're going to do, we're going to start on the bruschetta while the soup water is getting hot and the pasta's cooking. This is a little trick. I like to only grill the bread, whether it's on barbecue or in cast iron pan or on a grill pan, on one side. Because unless you're, well, I should say for an appetizer, if you're just eating it with a good olive oil, then you would grill both sides. But for an appetizer, I really like to grill one side, and especially for this bruschetta recipe, and we'll put a little rub of garlic on it on one side. And then when you put your liquid, most of the time it's some kind of a wetter topping, and especially certainly this one will be with tomatoes, it's a bit of a barrier. So that the hard part, and then when you bite into it, you're not biting on two sides that's crunchy. So it just depends on what you're serving. But in general, I usually like to just grill on one side. This is just a rustic loaf, got it at the market, but it was freshly baked, and you could use, I wouldn't use a sourdough or anything like that. I probably wouldn't even use wheat because it changes the texture, but just a rustic loaf or a French. The French loaves tend to be, I think, a little soft. So these are, I think most of the places you would buy this would just be a rustic loaf. So I think we could probably get a couple more. Our recipe's calling for 5 or 6 Roma tomatoes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm gonna check the pasta, and it's good. I don't throw it against the wall, but this pasta looks good. And we're just gonna.
Coleen, are you looking for the pasta to be completely done or al dente or half cooked?
A little under al dente because, thanks for asking, it's a great question. because it's going in the soup. So, you know, it's going to be heated up, and you want to be able to use this for a while, meaning you want to use it tomorrow, or, you know, you don't want to have to eat it right this second and get your pasta to blow up. So it's a great question. I don't think al dente or not, and that's also why if you want to just put the pasta in the soup, it's fine. And that's just maybe a little nutty. So now we're just going to add another thing, and this isn't in the recipe because it's just extra. Sometimes I'll take the garbanzo beans in another pan and put some seasonings in there so that the actual garbanzo beans are seasoned. But I didn't want to be too extra for you guys, but it's a nice thing to do for this dish. So we're just going to put this in here. And that's how easy this is, right? I made a mistake. But this pasta is good, and this soup is good just the way it is. However, one of the things, this is how our nonos do it. And I'm going to add some rosemary and a little parsley. But what my recipe says, because I'm just so used to watching Anna do this, before you put the pasta in, you can take your immersion blender and break it up so it has a creamier texture. That is what your recipe says, I believe. But this is how Otter makes it, so this is how we're doing it today. But if you want, before you put the pasta in, you can do that, and it comes out really nice. It's a little bit creamier texture. So this is just very more of an authentic interpretation of that. So this soup is going to be finished. I want to add some rosemary. This is an easy thing to grow. I mean, it's almost a weed. So when we just take, you've probably seen this on shows, you should just take this and skin it like that and chop it up a little bit. And I'm gonna check my bread because I feel like it's cooking.
We have a question that someone is asking what seasonings you are using.
Really? Only natural stuff. I mean, we're using, there's salt in the pasta, right? There's, I'm adding some rosemary right now. And we're gonna add, we can add a little parm. You can leave it out or put it in, depends on your dietary requirements. And the seasonings you may be asking is for the garbanzo beans. If I do that like that, it could be anything that has what you're in the mood for that day. You know, sometimes I'll do this, it's not Italian, but I'll do it with cumin or a seasoned pepper. I really like the seasoned peppers. These are great. So I think the last time I did it with the garbanzo beans, I used the seasoned pepper, which I think you can get that anywhere. I don't think it's special. Okay, so she's not done. So a couple of these need to. These look really good. Let me show you that. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm really lazy, so I try to use the platters and things that I'm going to use, unless, for example, like this doesn't need a covering over because it's just bread. But when I'm cooking fish or meat, I'll use my platter, cover it with foil, and then go barbecue or cook it here, and then use that so that you're not wasting a lot of dishes. So that's another little trick. So I got two more. Soup is almost finished, and I just want to put this. Okay, so just waiting for these two little pieces to cook.
How do you know when the soup is finished?
It's basically finished right now because the garbanzo beans don't really take that long to cook. Pasta's already cooked. I would recommend you don't serve it right away because you want these flavors to meld together. So we've just added some rosemary, and I'm going to add some freshly cracked pepper, which we'll do that right now. and parsley. So parsley is another easy thing to grow, kind of. I mean, in California it is, but I don't know about all over the world. And parsley I would put on at the end. So because this is going to my friend, I'm going to put the parsley in at the very, very end. And I'm going to get some Parmesan cheese. And that I have. So another thing is easy is you really want to use your good Parm, and which is the Parmigiano Reggiano. I know it sounds kind of snobby, but the flavor and the texture is superior. So what I've found is at Costco, you can get the blocks of it. For example, I think it's like $10.99 a pound or $11, something like that, where at the market it's $25.99 a pound if it's graded, or even buy the blocks. So the Costco one, just get the wedge of it and use your Cuisinart and grate it up. So that's what I've done. And I'm just going to take a couple handfuls of this, and this really helps this creaminess with the garbanzo beans as well. And several generous turns of your pepper. It's good. Pepper's really good for you, and we like a lot of it. This, as you can tell, there's no tomatoes in this. I mean, there's not a lot of. It's a very simple soup, so the pepper really helps. I'm not going to salt it because the Parm has salt in it. The pasta had salt in it too, and this just looks great. I wish you could smell this. It smells divine. Okay, I'm going to put the parsley in now. I'm gonna make this a little more fine. I didn't really chop it up. And if anybody has a good knife skills professor, I'm all ears, because as much as I've chopped, my knife skills are terrible. Because when you teach yourself, you don't really get those basics, and you kind of have to go backwards in this. All right, so that, my friends, is finished. I'm going to bring it over there. I put this little soup tureen out to show you, what I probably would do. I would transfer it into here, but since we're going to give it to our COVID patient, I'm not going to do that. I'll show you the soup, and then we will make some bruschetta.
Oh my goodness, that looks amazing.
Yeah, it's delicious and so simple. So there's not many ingredients in here, right? I mean, this is just your carrot, celery, onions, the garbanzo beans, and pasta, parsley, and rosemary, pepper. So easy peasy, and this is very hearty, and I only used half of the box of pasta, so half of a pound, and this is a very hearty soup, and it smells so good. You could do a lot with this too. You could, if you eat meat, you could add some prosciutto. You cook it first and then sprinkle it on top. You could add bacon. You could add. There's a lot of things you can do with this. You could add some spinach. We do an amazing spinach soup, which is just basically chicken stock and Parmesan. And that's it. All right, so we're going to get to this. For the bruschetta, and we want you to say that properly, right? I'll use this. What I want you to do is take your Roma tomatoes. I use the Romas because they are easy to scoop out, and I just use my hands. And you get the seeds scooped out, and this will be beautiful, right, for the veggie stock. So you can use your hand. This one's a little tight. And you could use a scooper too. This one's a little little not as ripe as I would like. And the tomatoes that we use at Tuscan Cook, it's indescribable actually. So, all right, we're gonna make this bruschetta for B. I know we're probably running a little bit behind, I'm so sorry. And again, you want to use the best ingredients you can afford and find.
Are you scooping these out to keep the bread from getting too moist?
I am scooping these out because the flesh doesn't taste it has I don't like the texture. And the seeds also add a flavor that we don't want. We want to really kind of stay pure with this. And like I said, I like these tomatoes, but I'm not going to waste this, right? This is going to go right into that bucket of slops for veggies, for my veggie stock. So, scoop this, and then we'll get some garlic, a couple cloves of garlic, and again with these a lot of people ask me, like, what size, how should I cut this? Especially for some kind of thing like bruschetta. Think about how the bite is going to be for you. How do you like that? So I would like to get these pretty small, diced, and that's what we're gonna do. And you wanna use your serrated knife, that really helps. And try to get these a little bit, I would call this a dice. I think that's what the recipe calls for. And the recipe's available now, so Larissa, however you want, or you've already done it, to give it to your friends. Use this folder. One of the things I love about these, even this bruschetta, you'll see, we're gonna put it together. We want it to sit, I should have started this a little earlier, but we want it to sit, again, to let the flavors and the oils come together. Especially like if you like a lot of garlic, you're going to want this to sit as long as you possibly can. But the ingredients lend itself to so many things. So let's say you have extra of this, you've taken the time and you have extra, you can throw this into a soup, right? We could throw this right now into that soup and it would be just great. It's got garlic and we've got everything that we need, and it would just add to the dimensions of the soup. Where we are in our little village in Montefalonico, Tuscany was a very poor region, and they have learned to make the most incredible dishes with the most simple foods. Granted, they're working with some great ingredients, but they do not waste a thing. So it's been really lovely being over there and watching them just have so much respect for the earth and the ingredients that they're using. And I do need some basil. I think I forgot to get my basil. I have some outside. Okay. Anyway. So if you've done this, so one of the things we're going to do is, like we said, just take a couple. Okay. I'm just kind of wiping that down because if it's too wet, you don't want to have a knife accident, which I'm sure if you cook, you've had one before. Especially, I used to watch years and years ago, Martha Stewart, she's great, her working with a mandolin. And I bought it, and I opened it, I was so excited, and the first pass I took, I lost the end of my finger. So I highly recommend not using a mandolin if you can avoid it, and also using the little claw they give you. Some things really need a mandolin, but you've got to learn that one the hard way. So be careful with your knives. If they're good, they're sharp. I personally don't like big chunks of garlic and things. My husband does. So I'm going to do this for him. It's a little chunky, so I'm going to do 2 of these. And also, if any of you have a foolproof garlic, you know, there's all kinds of garlic gadgets out there. So if anybody has one that they love that they can, you know, skin their garlic and it really, 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 really works, I'm happy to. But by the time I do it, I just might as well chop them. So this is about 2 cloves there. We're gonna add some olive oil. And again, this is good olive oil, but it's just, this is for the sauce or for this dish. So we don't need, a lot of, let this sit and we'll put some, probably about like basil in the backyard. It's kind of at the end of its peak, even for California, but it's still good and I'm not gonna waste it. So here we go. And I did another show where we actually took the, my basil was going crazy and I didn't want to waste it. And if you take a colander, and it really worked. I know, Laura, I'm probably going over time, sorry. But so this colander like this, and you put the basil in and it just stems it right away. And it had a huge thing of this, of basil, and was able to actually do the whole frozen ice cube tray pesto thing. So I always said I was going to do it, and I did it, really because of that, and it was really helpful. We're just going to chop up this basil really nicely. Again, about the same size as the garlic. You don't want to go too crazy here. And I think this was about 10 leaves. But one of the things about cooking is you don't need to be perfect. And I'm going to use this. Let this come together. Really nice. And we're going to take our 1 clove that we are going to, again, get the skin off of it and rub. I'm done here. Okay, we're finished with this. I'm going to clean this up. Just rub the toasted side, yeah? Just rub the toasted side on here. I'm gonna do the garlic first, not a lot, because this is strong, it's raw. It's a lot stronger when it's raw. A lot of times I'll cook the garlic first, because again, I'm not a fan of raw garlic like that, but a lot of people are. So we're just gonna rub that on there like that. Go and finish that. Sorry. Again, I love pepper. We're going to put a lot of pepper in here. I'm going to add a little salt to this, but you could salt it. You could salt it at the end, where like a lot of people use those finishing salts, like the Maldon or something that has a bigger grain. That's grain for salt, but all right. Finish this. Let these guys come together. One of the ladies in our village, they're just such remarkable women and strong, and so just incredibly inspiring. One day I was walking down my little street and I saw a woman, actually we were on the bus, and one of the ladies, I know that she's 90 because she tells me she's 90 all the time. I'm 90. And she was carrying a huge 2x8. It was a huge thing, like it almost looked like a cross she was carrying. And I said, oh my gosh, can I help you? Can I help you? No, why? No. And she just carried it home. She must have found it. It was just one of those funny stories. All right, so we're getting to the end of this. I think that you should, somebody asked about this, do we do this so it's not wet? You take out the seeds and the pulp of the tomato so it's not wet. Yes, for the most part, yes. And so we're going to put this right on the toasted side, and we'll just finish these off. And again, you can change this recipe. There is a lot you can do with this recipe. Again, I would try to, you need the oil. I would say maybe add less oil, but you really need the oil to get it melded together. So And you can chop these as big as you like. You could even make, just a half moon or something like that right from the tomato. But this smells really good too. I wanted to show you something. Finish these up. And again, a lot of people would use cherry tomatoes on this, but it's really too hard. That's too big of a piece of to get the seeds out of cherry tomatoes, in my opinion. If you're meticulous like that, I'm not. I just want to get it done and show people I love them by giving them some good food. And all right, we're almost finished here. Can't do this, but I wanted to show you one thing. So the olive oil that we used on this is a good olive oil for sure. But what we're going to do at the end of this is, and you can be fancy. If you want to make your basil almost like a pesto, you can do that. This is a very versatile recipe as well. And you can add all kinds of things to this. We've made this, where you use the fresh mozzarella and you put it like a caprese. There's a million combinations of this. But what I wanted to show you is, there we go. I have to hide my good stuff from my family. So this olive oil we get at one of our growers in Tuscany, Santo Pietro, and it's a beautiful, actually it's an agriturismo, which means it's a farm that you can also stay at, and it's gorgeous, like 4 seasons. But use your best olive oil and just do a little drizzle. You could also, just a little, because it does have some oil in there. And again, if you didn't salt, I like to salt the tomatoes because that really helps them break down. But if you didn't do that, you could do some finishing salt on here, or some balsamic vinegar, or any kind of vinegar actually. Okay, so you can see that. Easy. Name of the game. So thank you. And I'm not taking a bite of this because we're going to give it to my friend.
I have a question for you, Coleen. About how many servings do you think that soup is that you made today?
It'd be 4 to 6 for almost a main course, and more because if you see it, this is very hearty. It's kind of hot, but this is really hearty soup. It's more of a pasta dish, so it'd be very filling. And if you served it as an appetizer, I would go small because it has the pasta, has the beans. Those are very filling.
We also have someone else asking what the brand of the garbanzo beans was that you used.
The S&W. I mean, like I said, I've tested all the fancy ones, Italian ones. I really like the S&W. These are low sodium because I knew I was putting a lot of salt in the pasta water. But that's only because that's just what I wanted to do. But I found that these are great and they're not expensive. And then they're not even organic. I don't think these are organic ones either. And I did a whole panel, about 6 of them, and I ended up with this one. These garbanzo beans, did you probably know this? One of the best things you can do too, they're so good for you, is to drain and rinse them, really dry them out, let them sit overnight, ideally. And then just throw some olive oil and some salt, pepper, or whatever seasonings you like, and roast them. And they are a great snack. My husband's trying to diet, and we have pistachios laying around, so I'm trying to substitute the garbanzo beans for the pistachios.
Well, thank you so much, Coleen, for being here with us today. Tuscan Woman Cook sounds amazing, and hopefully one day when we're back in person, we can travel to Italy and have some fun.
If you go to our website too, you'll see the images will just evoke what the experience is as well, and then you can get on our cookbook list too. It'd be great.